Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Lost Files. Today, we are not just looking at lights in the sky. We are plunging into the deepest, darkest core of the UFO phenomenon, abductions. This is the ultimate close encounter, the moment a witness is taken aboard an unearthly craft and meets the extraterrestrials face to face. These aren't just strange sightings. They're literal kidnappings from the night. These are the records that challenge everything we believe about reality. These onboard experiences are, without a doubt, the most extensive and, frankly, the most terrifyingly informative UFO cases in existence. They offer fragmented glimpses into the true nature of the intruders. They hint at who the ETs are, what their true purpose is here, and what their complex, hidden agenda is on our planet. We have a rare chance to see how direct contact fundamentally corrupts the human experience. The records we examine today are vast and scattered, but they follow a sinister pattern. I've selected 5 real-life cases from across the globe, spanning the unsettling period from the 1950s through the 1980s. These are the cases that truly illustrate the profound, unsettling reality of being taken aboard. We'll travel through America, Argentina, Brazil, and even deep into the Australian outback. These are not urban legends. These are documented confrontations with the unknown. It is absolutely crucial to understand that this phenomenon, this hijacking of human life, is happening right now, even if you choose not to believe it. These are often the most important files in all of UFO research, precisely because they offer the most direct, albeit disturbing, information. Prepare yourself, because we're about to step across the threshold and see what happens when the lights come down and the door slides open. We begin with Joyce Updike's onboard experience in North Platte, Nebraska. The incident starts in the late 1950s, but the catalyst for her memory was a truly terrifying event in August of 1967. At that time, she was just an ordinary woman, completely oblivious to the fact that she had already been processed once before. This is a common, chilling feature. The amnesia is often just as frightening as the event itself. One quiet night, around 2 a.m., the ordinary world shattered. A UFO descended and landed right in her farmhouse yard. She was inside when the room was instantly filled with a blinding, agonizingly bright light. She described it like a welding torch. The terror was so absolute that it paralyzed her fundamental instincts. She was an extremely protective mother, yet she didn't check her 7 children. She simply locked the door, turned off the lights, and went straight to bed, driven by a fear she couldn't rationalize. She woke up later that night, still fully clothed, lying on top of the bedspread in the August heat. It made no logical sense. What's worse, her husband later confessed that he found a massive, scorched circle burned deep into the grass next to their barn. Physical proof, undeniable evidence of an invasive presence. The event may have been forgotten, but the effects were already manifesting, silently rearranging her life. Following this traumatic event, Joyce's life completely derailed. She stopped reading her historical novels and developed a strange, manic obsession. She was compulsively drawn to UFOs, ESP, reincarnation, and ancient, forbidden mysteries. But the corruption was physical too. Her hair began to thin drastically, and her eyes, along with her 2-year-old daughters, became terribly red and swollen, as if exposed to something toxic. She was literally changed by the light. The physical changes were matched by the psychic infection. She and her children began to experience sudden, intense abilities, including frightening out-of-body episodes and vivid past life recalls. Time itself seemed to bend around her. Her watches constantly stopped working, and she suffered severe bouts of missing time while at work. Her coworkers felt it too, noting she was constantly buzzing, as if electrically charged. The encounter had infected her on every conceivable level. Years later, in 1980, after hearing about Dr. Leo Sprinkle and his work with hypnosis, Joyce sought answers. Under the deep trance, she recovered the forgotten memory of a first, terrifyingly organized encounter in 1959. She drove out to a remote field, as if compelled, to meet 2 figures who appeared outwardly human, wearing spacesuits. They led her into a waiting craft, a silent ship that held unknown secrets. Inside, she was placed on an examination table, held fast by an unknown restraint. The figures, now wearing only skullcaps, began their grim work. She vaguely recalled seeing a third, doctor-like figure and a strange star map on the wall, details that defy comprehension. But the most unsettling part was the message delivered from the shadows. The ETs communicated a chilling future for Earth. They told her there would be great changes, catastrophic shifts that we cannot yet foresee. They promised that people across the planet would be rescued. Rescue? Or perhaps selective collection? This message, a warning and a promise of intervention, is repeated in the files of countless contactees. It suggests a higher purpose, a manipulative plan far beyond our comprehension. Our next file takes us to Quilmes, Argentina, on July 2nd, 1968. This is the case of Alejandra Martinez de Pescucci, a brief, brutal encounter that left physical scars. She was simply walking down the street when her world dissolved. She felt herself instantly absorbed by a magnetic force, losing all free will and autonomy. She was conscious, but completely immobile, unable to scream. A blinding light hit her, and the next moment, she was inside. She couldn't explain the transition, the immediate jump from sidewalk to alien vessel. Inside the craft, the silence was absolute, but the heat was terrible. She feared she was going to roast. The metal of her gold bracelet became instantly scorching, physical proof of the extreme, unearthly temperatures generated within a ship. She saw two beings, clearly not of our Earth. They had a radiant look. The atmosphere inside the disk was blinking, dazzling her vision. They were both extremely tall, the dominant one towering more than 2 meters in height. Their most distinct, unsettling feature was that their hands and feet seemed to emit light, like spotlights focusing on her. They controlled the ship by stepping on a button on the floor. They did not speak to her. They simply processed her. The encounter ended as abruptly as it began. She was violently thrown down to the ground at the nearby Esplita Cemetery. Her attempts to get help were met with scorn. Neighbors thought she was insane. But the evidence spoke louder than the ridicule. Her son confirmed hearing a strange humming sound when she returned. And more importantly, they found a scorched hole in the corner where the abduction began. Even the streetlights at that corner had instantly burned out, a clear sign of a massive electromagnetic discharge. We now move to a critical file from the U.S., Judy Kendall's onboard experience near Zamora, California, on November 26, 1972. This case is vital because it was documented before the phenomenon was widespread, helping to prove that missing time was a real component of these terrifying events. Judy, her two sisters, Danon and Becky, were on a routine drive home. The journey should have taken 3 hours. As they crossed the Cache Creek Bridge, a sudden, unnatural coldness filled the car. They realized, impossibly, that they were crossing the same bridge for a second time. They were physically exhausted, their minds blank. When they finally arrived home, it was midnight. The trip had taken twice as long. Their parents had called the police. An entire chunk of their lives had simply been erased. The lost time remained a terrifying, unspoken mystery for 3 years. Then, in 1975, Judy was watching the movie Escape to Witch Mountain. A scene showed an RV being lifted into the air. That single visual was the key that unlocked the vault. She had a full, conscious flash of memory. Her car with her and her sisters inside, being literally lifted into the air. Shaken to her core, she knew she had to find out what happened in those missing hours. Under hypnosis, she recovered the harrowing memories. The car was taken inside the craft. She and her sisters lost consciousness. She was then floated out and placed on an examination table in a large, hexagonal room. Her head was held fast by a painful restraining device. She was cold, draped with a felt cloth. This was not a friendly visit. It was a cold, clinical procedure. 2 types of beings surrounded her. First, a relatively human-looking woman with dark hair, who repeated the phrase, "Don't worry, Judy," demonstrating a chilling foreknowledge of her identity. Second, the short beings in gray suits, the classic grays. They had large, round, yellow eyes and masks covering their faces. This early description of the grays is crucial, as the image was not yet popularized. Then, the true horror entered the room. Walking down the corridor came a figure 6 or 7 feet tall, with a huge bulbous head and insect-like eyes. His skin was pale, almost translucent. She could see the veins and arteries beneath. This creature spoke to her, not with its mouth, but with a voice like a loudspeaker in her head, delivering the message, "No harm will come to you." The contrast between the chilling voice and the terrifying appearance was sickening. The insectoid creature began the examination, prodding her ears, studying her legs, and using a catheter-like device. A heavy, humming metal machine was placed over her eyes, perhaps to scan her mind or remove her deepest memories. She felt like a guinea pig, a lower life form being studied by a master race. This feeling of utter dehumanization is a hallmark of these files. The procedure concluded as strangely as it began. The shorter beings lifted her and carried her back to the car. As they reached the driver's seat, they simply tossed her through the air, and she landed perfectly behind the steering wheel, instantly alone. Her sisters then abruptly materialized beside her. They were back on the road, crossing the Cache Creek Bridge a second time, their memories surgically removed. Our fourth file is Karen Lister's onboard experience from Sydney, Australia, in January 1978. This case is unusual because the memory was recovered consciously, without hypnosis, a rare break in the amnesia. Karen, an 18-year-old, felt a strange, inexplicable compulsion to quit her job and book a hotel room. This pre-encounter manipulation is a sign of pre-planned collection. At 6:30 p.m. on Friday, she looked out her window and saw a strange, intensely bright light descend and hover over the water, just 50 feet above the waves. Then silence. The next thing she knew, the cleaning maid was waking her up. The maid informed her that it was Sunday morning. Karen had lost more than 24 hours. An entire day of her life had been vanished from her consciousness, a ghost in her own timeline. While recounting the terror to her friends, the dam broke and the full memory flooded back. She was inside the craft, facing 5 beautiful beings with dark hair, pearly blue eyes, and pale, flawless skin. Terrified, she pulled out a pair of metal scissors from her purse to defend herself. In a moment of pure, terrifying power, the closest male being held out his hand, and the scissors instantly coiled themselves into a tight metal ball. Her weapon was rendered useless. The beings were calm, assuring her they were not there to harm her. They only needed to look at her hands. He led her to an alcove where a mirror device lay. They took an image or record of her palms. The purpose was unclear, but the focus was specific. Later, she attempted to keep the coiled scissors as proof, but after tight airport security following a terrorist bombing, the crucial evidence vanished from her luggage, leaving only the tail. Driven by curiosity, she explored the silent craft. She found a strange, diamond-shaped room with a comfortable-looking chair in the center. When she placed her hands on the armrests, the walls and ceiling instantly became transparent. She was suddenly alone, surrounded by the unfiltered beauty of space. She was outside the structure, sitting in the universe itself. It was the most magical, yet deeply unsettling display of technology. She remembered being taken aboard before, even as a child. She had met friendly, human-like ETS who told her they were her real family, but she had a job to do on Earth. This suggests a lifelong monitoring, an ongoing program. Years later, a palm reader revealed the horrifying clue. She had a perfect 6-line cross, a pattern resembling a Star of David, in the very center of her right palm, exactly where the ETs had focused their scan. She was marked. Our final, most comprehensive file is Antonio Nelson Tosca's onboard experience from Chapico, Brazil, in 1983. This is considered one of Brazil's most verified, profound cases, containing powerful physical and testimonial evidence. Antonio, a 62-year-old man, drove his car right up to a large, long, narrow craft hovering silently over the dirt road. The craft was about 30 feet long, emanating a bizarre green light. Antonio got out and felt an intense heat radiating from the machine. As he reached for his car door, a yellow beam of light, 3 feet wide, shot out and enslaved him. He felt himself being uncontrollably pulled toward the gray, metallic craft. He was pulled through the metal wall, and then the dark mercifully claimed him. He awoke, paralyzed, in a dark, terrifyingly cold room. His first confused thought was that he had been buried alive in a coffin. He felt unseen beings, 3 or 4, surrounding him, speaking in a strange, gurgling language, examining his helpless body. He was lifted and taken to a small, brightly lit room with curved, polished aluminum walls. His clothes were removed and stacked neatly. An opening appeared in the wall, and a tiny, beautiful woman stepped out, less than 4 feet tall, with almond-shaped blue eyes that curve around the sides of her head. She spoke telepathically in his native Portuguese. "I am Kabbalah, messenger of the world Agali. I come on a mission of peace and love." When he asked where they were, her answer defied reality. "We are under the ocean, 180 meters below sea level." He was given 2 strange liquids to drink, one water-like, the second a thick, acidic blackberry fluid. Then, a couch materialized from the wall. The woman undressed, inviting him closer. Their intimate act was swift. At the moment of climax, she spoke one single word aloud. "Amor, love." She then told him that from their brief, surreal union, she would bear 2 children. A forced procreation, a terrifying claim of genetic manipulation. Terrified that he would forget her crucial message, Antonio protested. The woman produced a crown-like device, an alien piece of technology, and placed it on his head. "With this in your head," she promised, "you will see me speak the message to you twice, and it will never leave your memory." The device was a memory implant, a guarantee that the message would be passed on. The message was a vast, chilling warning to all of Earth. It demanded the immediate neutralization of nuclear weapons, warning that they would push the Earth from its celestial orbit. It condemned imperialism and economic domination. Most alarmingly, it warned against inconsiderate genetic experiences on human life, suggesting that our own future experimentation would lead to irreparable genetic catastrophe. The message was recorded. She removed the crown, vanished back through the wall, and Antonio was alone, consumed by sorrow. He was then moved, the temperature dropped, and he awoke at dawn on the ground, miles away. For 3 days, he suffered extreme thirst, and then he vomited the thick, yellow, acidic fluid he had been forced to drink. His body rejected the alien compound. At the hospital, doctors found a strange, scar-like mark on his back. But the most powerful evidence was on his car. The front of the hood was highly magnetized, a clear electrical signature. His old car, which had always struggled to start, suddenly started instantly for 10 days straight, before the magnetic charge faded. Antonio's belt buckle and watch were also magnetized. The ship had literally charged the very fabric of his world. These 5 files, Updike, Pascucci, Kindle, Lister, and Tosca, are not isolated incidents. They are evidence of a vast, hidden operation. The Roper poll found that up to 1 in 50 people have been abducted. That is millions of people walking among us, carrying these fractured, terrifying memories. This is not science fiction. This is a terrifying reality, a clandestine monitoring of the human race. These cases illustrate what ET contact truly is, a violation. It affects the victim on every level, emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually. We have so much to learn from these dark files, because they're the only true window we have into the intentions of those who visit us from the cold void. Thank you for delving into these lost files with us. Until next time, keep seeking the answers, keep seeking the truth, and always remember, someone or something is always watching.